if our minds were the products of blind forces that didn't have its end in mind, then we shouldn't really trust anything we think.
Believing in God is for dumb people. Evolution answers the question of how we got here. So how do we know that a God even exists?
That's so dumb. That's how we start. Let's start a question with an insult. That's always helpful, right? Religion is for dumb people. Well, look,
you are unintellectual if you believe in God.
Okay, well, let's start by saying that reason itself needs to be explained. And if people are going to say, well, you're dumb for believing in something, what that person's presupposing is that it would be intelligent to believe something else. But why does reason exist to begin with? Why can we use a 3-pound organ between our skulls to try and ascertain truths outside of our skulls? Why can we do that at all? I mean, it's like when atheists say, well, there's no evidence for God. I sometimes want to say to them, why is there evidence for anything? I mean, why can we ascertain truths about the real world and draw conclusions about them? And the answer is, in my view, is because our mind is made in the image of the great mind. And there are these immaterial laws out there called the laws of logic that are grounded in God's nature that allow us to ascertain truths about the real world. So intelligence itself needs to be explained. When people say you're dumb if you don't believe X, Y, or Z, well, they're assuming that intelligence exists. But let me even back out further than that, Melissa, and say this. When people ask me, how do you know that God exists? My answer is because God explains effects that we can all see around us. In other words, we're reasoning from effect to cause. And this is what scientists do. When they have an effect, they're trying to figure out what caused it. So one example of an effect is creation itself. We know that the universe had a beginning. That's the effect. So we're trying to reason back to a cause. And if space, matter, and time is an effect, then the cause must be spaceless, timeless, immaterial, powerful, personal, and intelligent. This is some of the things we unpack in our I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist book and presentation. Design is an effect. So we're reasoning back to a cause, a designer. There's design in the universe and design in life. So we're reasoning from effect to cause. We have a moral law written on our hearts. That's an effect. So we're reasoning back to a cause, the moral lawgiver. We have the ability to reason, which is what we were just speaking about. That's an effect. So we're reasoning back to a cause, a transcendent mind. So how do we know God exists? We reason from effect to cause. We know him by his effects. Hey, isn't it interesting, though, that the evolutionists, speaking of evolution, because that was part of the question, they assume that the effect is greater than the cause, right? They're saying that we have all this complexity, say, just in human life, for example, that arose from something very simple. And somehow it brought us to this greater effect than the cause itself had to begin with. Well, that would seem to be a violation of cause and effect because the cause can't give what it doesn't have. So the effect shouldn't have something the cause doesn't have. And yet they're saying, no, we're an effect and it's greater than the cause that created us. These natural laws or whatever. So they're actually violating what is one of the principal elements of the law of causality, that the effect can't be greater than the cause.